This is a war brought about by Hitler, and this is a war that Hitler has fought for too long, and he's fighting it to the death, and he's fighting it to the death of the people who he supposedly loves.
When the war ended, everyone believed the terror of Nazi Germany had finally been buried. But as Allied soldiers stormed abandoned tunnels and sealed bunkers, they found things no one was meant to see. From uncovered weapons of mass destruction to experiments so inhumane you won't believe it.
He spent over 800 days at the Wolf's Lair. It was by far the most used of all his headquarters. This is his actual bunker.
Each discovery hinted that the Nazi machine hadn't just been fighting a war, it had been preparing for something much worse. Human experiments at Dachau and Auschwitz. When Allied forces stormed into Dachau and Auschwitz, they expected to find horror, but not this. Beneath the camps, soldiers uncovered sealed laboratories, rows of steel tables, and files so disturbing that some officers refused to read them. The Nazis hadn't just killed people here, they had experimented on them in ways that defied humanity. In Dachau, they found cold chambers used for freezing tests. Prisoners were stripped, submerged in ice water, and left for hours while doctors recorded how long it took before their hearts stopped. Some were revived just to be frozen again. Every minute was documented. Body temperature, breathing patterns, reaction to pain. These weren't random acts of cruelty. They were calculated, scientific, and approved at the highest levels of command. At Auschwitz, things were even worse. The camp's underground labs contained jars of preserved organs, twin skeletons labeled with serial numbers, and handwritten notes from the doctors in charge. Malaria, typhus, and tuberculosis were injected into prisoners so he could observe resistance. Twin children were sewn together, injected with chemicals, and studied for genetic control. Many victims died in agony. The rest were executed when they were no longer useful. When the war ended, thousands of documents were seized. They revealed a secret network of experiments ordered to strengthen the Aryan race and test how much pain the human body could endure. Shockingly, after the war, parts of this data were quietly studied by other nations, hidden under classified research. The Wunderwaffe project. When the Allies began closing in on Nazi Germany, Hitler's scientists were working on something that terrified even their own commanders. The project was called Wunderwaffe, meaning wonder weapons. These weren't just bigger bombs or faster planes, they were blueprints for machines meant to change the future of warfare itself. The Nazi regime poured its last resources into them, believing one decisive weapon could reverse the war and cement Hitler's dominance for 1,000 years. Deep in mountain bunkers and vast underground complexes like Mittelwerk and Mauthausen, German engineers built rockets that could reach London in minutes. The V2 rocket, the world's first ballistic missile, was years ahead of its time, the first man-made object to enter space. But what Allied troops found alongside those rockets was far darker. Crude test chambers, piles of corpses, and documents detailing experiments on prisoners used to perfect flight and propulsion systems. Many victims had been tied to platforms and exposed to rocket exhaust. Even more disturbing were the sketches labeled Project Glocke, a bell-shaped device built from heavy metal alloys and surrounded by ceramic plates. Witnesses described it humming violently, emitting blue light and killing nearby scientists during tests. The Allies found fragments of its structure and barrels of a mysterious violet liquid labeled Serum 525. No one ever confirmed what it did, but intelligence reports later classified it as potentially nuclear or gravitational in nature. By 1945, Allied forces uncovered half-completed weapons, blueprints for particle cannons, jet bombers, and evidence of nuclear reactor experiments beneath the Thuringian Hills. Many German scientists disappeared before capture, erasing files and sealing tunnels behind them. Those who were taken became part of Operation Paperclip, secretly relocated to America to continue their research under new flags. What the Allies ultimately realized was horrifying. Nazi Germany Germany had been years ahead in technology and frighteningly close to unleashing weapons capable of erasing entire cities. The war ended before those machines were completed, but what they left behind still haunts military historians today. The Hanibu disc. In the final years of World War II, strange lights were seen streaking silently across the skies of Europe. Allied pilots called them Foo Fighters, assuming they were enemy aircraft or new forms of surveillance. After the war, however, the truth that began to emerge was far more disturbing. Reports surfaced suggesting that Nazi engineers had been building circular flying machines under a program known as the Hanibu Project. The goal of this project was not to build faster planes, it was to create a craft that could defy gravity itself. Hidden deep within the Bavarian Alps, a secret team of scientists worked under direct supervision of the SS. When Allied forces advanced into Germany in 1945, they uncovered fragments of metal, unlike any known alloy, and blueprints for circular craft that bore no resemblance to conventional aircraft. In one underground facility near Prague, soldiers discovered a circular steel frame, scorched by extreme heat. The air was thick with a metallic odor, and one survivor claimed that the walls had been lined with strange ceramic panels. Interrogations of captured German engineers revealed that at least one prototype had lifted off the ground before crashing in the mountains. A few witnesses described a violent burst of blue light that left several technicians dead and others severely burned. Some accounts spoke of a humming sound that caused equipment to fail and instruments to spin wildly. When Allied investigators examined the remains, they found sealed canisters containing a violet liquid marked Zerum 525. No one could identify its composition. In the months that followed, the blueprints were classified and transferred to secret research divisions in both the United States and the Soviet Union. The designs were so advanced that portions of the material remain restricted even today. Some Cold War aircraft show undeniable similarities to the Hanibu schematics. Others claim that unexplained aerial encounters during the 1950s followed the same circular flight patterns. The Ahnenerbe archives, Nazi occult research files. While most of Nazi Germany was focused on weapons and conquest, Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS, was searching for something even darker. He believed the key to absolute power lay not in machines, but in ancient forces that predated civilization itself. To find them, he created the Ahnenerbe, a secret research division devoted to uncovering mystical artifacts and forgotten rituals. Teams of SS scholars and archaeologists were dispatched across Europe, the Middle East, and Tibet. They raided temples and monasteries, seizing bones, scrolls, and sacred relics. Many local witnesses vanished after these expeditions, and those who survived spoke of scientists performing rituals under torchlight. Everything that hinted at ancient energy was shipped to Germany and catalogued under Himmler's personal authority. Inside the vaults beneath Wewelsburg Castle, investigators later found fragments of skulls carved with runes, silver bowls encrusted with blood residue, and parchments describing ritual energy transference. When Allied forces captured Wewelsburg in 1945, they found the castle's floors marked with burned symbols and the walls scorched by fire. In the central hall, shaped like a black sun, were 12 stone seats arranged around a circular emblem. Documents recovered from the site described experiments linking electromagnetic fields with human consciousness. Some files recorded human trials that ended in madness and death. Many of the surviving documents were sealed under top-secret classification. Others disappeared entirely, taken by Soviet agents during the division of Germany. To this day, much of the Ahnenerbe collection remains unaccounted for. The death mines of Mauthausen. Beneath the Austrian hills near the town of Mauthausen, a hidden network of tunnels once echoed with the sounds of drills, explosions, and human suffering. These were not ordinary mines. They were Nazi death factories built underground to protect weapon production from Allied bombers. Inside, thousands of prisoners were forced to dig, blast, and carve out chambers that stretched for miles under the earth. Most never saw daylight again. The Nazis called it Project Bergkristall. On paper, it was an engineering feat meant to produce use jet fighters and advanced weapons in secret. In reality, it was a nightmare. Prisoners from concentration camps were marched into the tunnels every day with no safety gear, no light, and no food. The air was thick with dust and fumes. Collapse was common. Anyone too weak to work was shot on the spot. The deeper they dug, the more it became a graveyard instead of a factory. When Allied troops liberated Mauthausen in 1945, they discovered the entrance to these underground tunnels. What they found shocked even hardened soldiers. Skeletal remains mixed with rusted tools, machine parts, and half-finished aircraft frames. Some tunnels were flooded, others sealed off, but the evidence was clear. This was forced labor on a massive, deadly scale. Decades later, excavations revealed even more. In the lower chambers, archaeologists found human bones fused with concrete, showing how prisoners had died literally buried in their work. Documents recovered from SS offices confirmed that the tunnels were also used for human experimentation, testing endurance, exposure to toxic chemicals, and forced medical trials. Hitler's time machine experiment. In the final phase of the war, as Germany was collapsing, a secret project codenamed Die Glocke, the Bell, was underway in a remote facility in Lower Silesia. Few people outside Hitler's inner circle even knew it existed. It was shaped like a large metallic bell, stood about 9 feet tall, and was surrounded by armed SS guards. The scientists who worked on it were told only one thing: complete it no matter the cost. Documents later found by Allied investigators described an experiment involving massive electrical fields and a strange, glowing liquid called Zerum 525. When activated, the bell emitted violent energy waves that killed nearby plants, animals, and sometimes the researchers themselves. Some reports described people collapsing with bleeding eyes and skin burns after only seconds of exposure. The project was so secret that even other SS units were banned from entering the test site. According to captured German officers, the bell was designed to bend the laws of physics, possibly a weapon, possibly an experiment in time displacement or anti-gravity. Radiation readings around the abandoned facility were unusually high when Allied scientists arrived. They found metal residue fused into the walls and scorched marks across the testing area, but the bell itself was gone. Witnesses later claimed that in April 1945, just before the Soviet army arrived, the SS executed the remaining workers and transported the device out of the country. The scientists who led the project vanished without a trace. Some theories say they were taken to South America. Others believe the U.S. secretly recovered the bell under Operation Paperclip. To this day, Die Glocke remains one of Nazi Germany's greatest mysteries: the ghost submarines of the Baltic Sea. In the cold depths of the Baltic Sea, sonar scanners began picking up shapes that shouldn't have been there. Dozens of them, long, sleek, and unmistakably German. When divers first descended, they expected a handful of wrecks. What they found instead sent shockwaves through Europe's naval community. They found an entire fleet of lost U-boats, perfectly preserved by the freezing waters, resting silently like steel coffins. Many of these submarines were unknown to Allied records. Their serial numbers didn't match any official lists. Some were fitted with propulsion systems that appeared years ahead of their time. Others had unusual markings, strange compartments welded shut, and sealed tubes that hinted at something mysterious being transported. When one hull was cut open, investigators found crates marked only with a red eagle, and the words "Nur für den Führer," for the Führer only. Speculation exploded. Some believed these ghost subs were part of a last-ditch Nazi plan to smuggle valuables, documents, or even high-ranking officers to secret bases abroad. Others whispered about biological experiments or prototype weapons meant for a war that never ended. One particularly chilling discovery came from a sub found near Gotland. Inside were 12 crew members, all seated at their stations, untouched by time, as if they'd simply stopped breathing mid-mission. No signs of struggle, no water damage, just silence. Why were these submarines never reported sunk? Who gave the order for them to vanish beneath the sea? And what was inside the compartment still too dangerous to open? To this day, governments quietly monitor the region, refusing to release full details. But every new sonar scan brings more questions, and more steel ghosts rising from the dark, as if the war itself refuses to stay buried. The hidden vaults of the Wewelsburg Castle. When Allied soldiers entered Wewelsburg Castle in 1945, they thought it was just another Nazi headquarters. They were wrong. Beneath the stone floors of this medieval fortress, they found sealed chambers, blackened walls, and eerie symbols carved into the stone. It wasn't just a base, it was Heinrich Himmler's personal temple, the heart of the SS cult. Himmler believed the SS wasn't just a military elite, but a sacred order destined to rule a new world. To him, Wewelsburg was more than a fortress. It was the spiritual center of that vision. Inside the underground vaults, investigators discovered a circular hall with 12 stone seats, arranged like a council chamber. In the center, a black sun emblem was engraved into the floor, a symbol now linked to occultism and far-right ideologies worldwide. The room's design matched Himmler's obsession with ancient rituals, Norse mythology, and dark mysticism. Deeper in the tunnels, soldiers found rooms filled with strange artifacts, medieval weapons, ancient runes, and boxes of SS documents referencing secret rituals. Some claimed the vaults were used for initiation ceremonies, where high-ranking officers swore loyalty oaths not just to Hitler, but to a darker belief in racial destiny and occult power. Others believed Himmler intended to use the castle as a spiritual command center after the Nazis conquered Europe. After the war, parts of the castle were sealed, but the symbols carved there, the black sun, the double lightning bolts, the runes, continue to appear in extremist movements today. What was once Himmler's secret temple now stands as a reminder of how far the Nazis went to mix war, ideology, and the supernatural. Wewelsburg wasn't just a fortress, it was the dark heart of Nazi mysticism. The Amber Room. When the Nazis invaded the Soviet Union in 1941, they didn't just seize land, they looted history. One of their most shocking thefts was the Amber Room, a chamber made entirely of gold leaf, mirrors, and carved amber panels. It was often called the eighth wonder of the world, a priceless masterpiece housed in the Catherine Palace near St. Petersburg. The Nazis dismantled it in just 36 hours and shipped it to Königsberg, Germany. After that, it vanished without a trace. When Allied forces bombed the city in 1945, witnesses claimed they saw the glowing panels loaded onto trains and trucks. Some reports said the Nazis tried to move it again before the city fell. Others insisted it was destroyed in the fires. But when investigators searched the ruins, there was nothing. No panels, no crates, not even fragments of amber. It was as if the entire room had been swallowed by the war. Over the years, the hunt for the Amber Room has drawn treasure hunters, historians, and even military teams. Some claim it lies hidden inside sealed Nazi bunkers in Poland or beneath a sunken submarine in the Baltic Sea. In 2020, divers exploring an old wreck near Gdansk discovered crates believed to contain art stolen by the Nazis. The discovery reignited speculation that the Amber Room might be among them, still preserved under layers of silt and steel. For decades, people have risked their lives searching for it, and a few have mysteriously disappeared in the process. Base 211. In 1938, the Nazis launched an expedition to one of the most remote and hostile places on Earth, Antarctica. Officially, the mission was to claim new territory and secure whale oil for the German war industry. But later discoveries suggested a far darker purpose. The operation was rumored to be the first step toward establishing Base 211, a secret Nazi stronghold buried deep beneath the Antarctic ice. The expedition was led by Captain Alfred Richer, an experienced polar explorer. He commanded a team of scientists, engineers, and Luftwaffe pilots equipped with advanced aircraft and experimental instruments. The ships carried swastika-marked flags, strange measuring devices, and specially designed camera equipment. Their destination was a frozen region, now known as Queen Maud Land. Over the course of several weeks, the team flew thousands of miles, dropping metal flags across the untouched landscape and taking more than 10,000 aerial photographs. Some of those images, discovered years later, showed what appeared to be circular indentations and geometric patterns in the ice, shapes that did not look natural. When Germany collapsed in 1945, Allied investigators searching Nazi archives found files referencing a project called Neuschwabenland. The documents hinted at plans for a long-term base in Antarctica, possibly built before the war's end. The idea sounded impossible, yet strange evidence kept emerging. After the war, several German U-boats were discovered off the coast of Argentina. They had arrived months after Germany's surrender, carrying unknown cargo. Two of them, U-530 and U-977, became central to the mystery. Their captains gave vague, inconsistent explanations for their long journeys. Both had taken unusual southern routes, and neither could explain what had happened during the missing weeks before they surrendered. In later years, other wrecks were found trapped under Antarctic ice, containing crates with Nazi insignia and sealed containers that no one was ever able to open. Then came another strange event. In 1946, the United States launched Operation High Jump, a massive military expedition to Antarctica led by Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Officially, the goal was to train for cold weather warfare. Unofficially, some believed the U.S. Navy was searching for remaining Nazi forces. Byrd's own reports from the mission mentioned flying objects that could travel from pole to pole in minutes. Soon after, the operation ended abruptly, months earlier than planned. In the following decades, explorers and scientists working in Queen Maud Land began recording unusual magnetic readings and unexplained heat signatures deep under the ice. Modern satellite scans have detected thermal anomalies in the same region, mapped by Richer's team in 1938. The coincidence has never been fully explained. Today, historians still debate whether Base 211 ever existed. No physical proof has been recovered, and official archives in Germany and the United States remain sealed or incomplete. Yet the combination of lost U-boats, classified documents, and unexplained data continues to fuel the theory. The Morgenthau Caves. When Allied forces swept through Germany in 1945, they expected resistance. What they didn't expect were the underground tunnels, deep, cold, and lined with barrels marked with warning symbols. These were the Morgenthau Caves, one of the darkest discoveries of the post-war years. Hidden beneath forests and hills, these vast underground chambers stored the Reich's most dangerous secrets, chemical and biological weapons meant to unleash chaos on the world. When U.S. troops first entered, they were hit by a sharp, choking odor that burned their lungs. Protective masks were thrown on as they pushed forward with flashlights cutting through the thick air. What they saw was terrifying. Racks of chemical shells, tanks filled with unidentified gases, and containers labeled with German code names that hinted at deadly experiments. Some of these weapons were more advanced than anything seen before, including nerve agents that could kill thousands in minutes. It quickly became clear the Nazis had tried to erase every trace. Documents were burned, tunnels were rigged with explosives, and some entrances were flooded intentionally. Still, not everything was destroyed. The Allies found evidence of large-scale testing on prisoners and plans to release nerve agents across enemy lines if Germany faced defeat. In the months that followed, Allied teams worked around the clock to neutralize what they found. Many barrels were buried or sealed inside the tunnels. Decades later, locals still report sealed shafts hidden in the woods, with rusted signs warning people to stay away. Even now, experts believe that tons of undiscovered chemical weapons remain entombed under German soil. The Black Sun Chamber. Deep beneath Wewelsburg Castle in Germany lies one of the most disturbing places connected to the Nazi regime. A dark, circular chamber carved from stone and marked with a strange symbol on the floor. It's called the Black Sun, a 12-armed sigil that has fueled decades of rumors about secret SS rituals and occult ceremonies. When Allied soldiers first entered the castle after Germany's surrender, they didn't know what they had stumbled upon. The room was cold, empty, and silent, but its walls told a story. Investigators found carved runes, strange geometric markings, and traces of soot, as if candles had been burned in patterns. This chamber was allegedly designed by Heinrich Himmler himself, the head of the SS, who believed in ancient Nordic myths and wanted to turn the SS into a kind of mystical brotherhood. According to captured records, Wewelsburg was meant to be the center of the world for a new Aryan empire, and the Black Sun Chamber would serve as its ritual heart. Witnesses later claimed that secret midnight gatherings were held there, where high-ranking SS officers swore oaths, studied occult texts, and performed ceremonies meant to connect them with ancient powers. Others believe it was simply a symbolic meeting room, part of Himmler's obsession with blending myth, science, and ideology into one terrifying vision. Archaeologists who later studied the site remain divided. Some say the Black Sun symbol was added after the war by neo-Nazi groups. Others insist it was authentic, a part of Himmler's original design. Whatever the truth, the horrifying atmosphere in that room is undeniable. The Nazi Gold Train. In 1945, as the Third Reich collapsed, German officers rushed to hide what they couldn't take: gold, art, and stolen treasures from across Europe. One rumor stood out above all: a heavily armored train loaded with gold bars, jewels, and priceless paintings that vanished somewhere in the mountains of southwestern Poland. The world would later call it the Nazi Gold Train, and decades later, people are still searching for it. According to eyewitnesses, the train left Breslau, now Wrocław, just weeks before the Soviet army arrived. It was said to be more than 100 meters long, with reinforced steel plating and guards under strict orders to ensure it never fell into enemy hands. Somewhere near the Owl Mountains, it vanished without a trace. Locals whispered that the Nazis had sealed it inside a hidden tunnel, using explosives to collapse the entrance. For years, the story was dismissed as wartime fantasy until 2015, when two treasure hunters using ground-penetrating radar near the town of Wałbrzych claimed to have found the outline of a buried train. The announcement set off chaos. Police, military engineers, and historians flooded the area, digging for answers. Even Poland's government confirmed there was something underground, but what exactly remained a mystery. No train has ever been officially recovered. Some experts believe it's still there, sealed behind tons of rock and concrete. Others think it was moved long before the Allies arrived or never existed at all. Yet strange traces remain: sealed tunnels, abandoned railway lines, and reports of Nazi blueprints marking confidential transport routes. To this day, locals warn curious explorers to stay away from the mountain slopes. The Nazi Gold Train might still be waiting down there, a rusting metal tomb filled with stolen wealth, and a ghostly reminder of how far the Reich went to bury its crimes forever. What do you think would have happened if the Nazis could release all this onto the world? Comment down below.